have came across a website called wishes.app in the framework gallery. I just love the scroll transform animation which they have used in the hero section. So I thought of let's recreate this scroll transform animation in my style. So in this video, we are going to see how we are going to make this type of scroll transform animation. So without making a much delay, let's get into the video. So this was this wishes.app a website. So I'm going to take the screenshot of it. I'm pasting it here. Let me keep it aside. Now in this desktop breakpoint, let's set the width and height. Let me make it as 1000 for instance. And now we are going to recreate this gradient effect. So for that, I'm creating a frame. Let me name it as gradient. Now for this, we are going to give the gradient effect. So I'm going to fill here in the linear gradient. I'm going to choose the first color to be this one. And the second color to be this one. Let me tilt it a little bit so that we created that exact gradient effect. And now let me go back to this website. Here on scroll, it's gradually changing the color, that is the background color, and entirely to the white color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a component for this gradient with three types of colors. One is for this gradient effect, and a light subtle effect, and fully a white effect. So let me create a component that with the name of gradient. So this will be the variant 1. And coming to the variant 2, let me adjust the color, something like this. So now let me create the third variant. And for this, let me give it as white. So that we have created the gradient component. So later on, we will work on the changing of this color. Okay. And now we need to make that particular gradient to be fixed, because on scroll the color is gradually changing and also the position is not even moving. So that we need to make the position to be fixed. So let me make this position to be fixed, and also I need to give the height of it to be in 100 viewport, and let me make the width to relative 100%. Okay, and for the gradual color change, we will do it later. And now we need to create this box inside it. So let me create a box. So we have created the box. Let me give the padding value at the top to be in 100 for the desktop. And this is the frame. Let me give the name to gradient wrap. Here we need to give the Glassmorphism effect. Okay, and before that, let me give the radius of it to 50. And let me make the z-index value to be in 1. Here, let me take out this fill color. I need to give the border color. So I'm choosing on this, and let me give it to white. Let me reduce a little bit. Okay. So that we have given the border something like this. And then we need to give the gradient effect inside it. So for that, I'm again creating another frame which should be inside this gradient wrap. Let me make the position of this to be in absolute, and make the relative position to be in 100. The same follows for the height. Okay, and coming to here, we need to give the gradient, right? So for this, I'm going to the fill. Let me choose up with a radial. Here in the middle part, I have given the opacity to the 0, and for the extreme end, I have chosen the white color with 17%. So that we get somewhat like a gradient effect. And also you can note there is a little bit of a glassy effect. So again, I'm duplicating it, and coming to this, I'm going to give the border color. I have given the border color with a width of 6%, and then I'm going to use a filter with a blur, and let me adjust. And coming to the border, it's looking so odd. So I'm going to the gradient wrap. Let me decrease the opacity to, yeah, this will be okay. So that we somewhat matches with the Glassmorphism effect of this existing wishes.app website. Now we need to add the text and the button. So let me add the text. So I have changed the style of this text. So just above it, we need to add the image. So that I have added the image. Okay. Now we need to add a button. So that I have created the button with a linear gradient and also with a padding value. And now let me make the distribution to be in space between, and let me give the padding value at the top and bottom so that we have just match up with the existing design. We are not going to create this extra glass effect because it will be time consuming. Let me go to the concept now. Okay, fine. So we have created this one, and now let's create a with this element which holds the images. So I'm creating another frame which is beneath this. Let me make it as birthday wrap. And now inside this we are going to create this exact design. So here I have created this exact design so that we have created exact design something like this. And coming to this birthday wrap, let me duplicate it for twice because we have 3 wraps totally. And for all these wrap, let me add a stack that will be whole wrap. We have 3 wraps which have a similar layout, but only the design changes. Later on we can change the design also. So that we made the basic setup. Now what we need to do is we need to add the images. But before that, what I feel is let's mix this gradient transition effect which I have shown here, this one. So let's see how we're gonna make that. We already have a gradient component with 3 variants, one with a dark, light and white. So with the use of this component, we are going to make the scroll animation, which is a smooth transition which we have seen in the website. So let's see how we're going to make that. Here what we are going to do is we are going to use the scroll variant. So let me go to the effects. I'm going to use the scroll variant. So we have 3 triggers: on scroll, layer in view and section in view. Here we are going to use section in view. We have chosen with the trigger of section in view. So when the particular section which we are going to mention here appears on the screen based on the viewport, if the particular section hits the bottom, middle or top. So based on the viewport, if that particular section hits the screen, that particular component which we have chosen will change to the variant which we are going to set up here. Okay, this is the basic concept. Let's see how we are going to make that. We have chosen the section in view and we need to set which section. So for that, we need to set up the section. So what we have seen in this website is when that particular My Birthday wraps hits in the center, it starts to change the color and finally to the white. Can you able to see? When that particular My Birthday wraps hits the center, it starts to changing the color and finally to the white. I'm going to choose this birthday wrap and going to the scroll section. And let me give the name to 1. Now let me go to this gradient. And for the variant and for the scroll variant, when the viewport hit the middle of the screen, here can you see only if this wrap hits the middle of the screen, it starts changing the color. So when the viewport, when the particular section hits the center of the viewport, which section, that is the number 1 section, that is the 1 section. When this 1 section hits the center of the viewport, then the component should change its variant. You should change the variant to 2, that is variant 2. Let's check it out. when that my birthday wrap hits the center, it's changing the color. And then when the whole wrap comes to the center, there is something here, comes to the center, the whole part changes to the white. So we need to make that also. So for that, what I'm going to do is, let me create another frame which should be beneath this. Okay, it should be beneath this whole wrap. And let me change the position of this to absolute position. And let me bring it somewhere here. Okay, and for this, let me change the scroll section name to be last line. So for the understanding. And again, I'm going to the gradient. Let me add a section. Let me choose to last line. So when the last line hit the middle part, the variant should change to variant 3. So let me check how it's working. Okay, it's not going to hit the center until we are going to add the content. So for instance, what I feel is, let's make the last one. Okay, so let me create this. Let me change the name to 3. And for this, let me give the name to 2. Okay, and for the gradient, let me go to the scroll variant. If the viewport hits the bottom, and when the section, that is when the section 3 hits the viewport bottom, it should change the variant to 2. And after that, let me pull it down. Okay, and let me go to the variant. And when the last line hits the bottom viewport, it should change to the variant to 3. So now let's check it up. It's working perfectly fine. So now let me take out this color. Okay, fine. And then we have another issue. This particular thing should stick to the screen. So we haven't do that. So I'm going to the gradient wrap. Let's make the type to sticky. And it should stick to the top at 50 pixel. Okay, and let me check. It's not working. It's because of the overflow. So let me give the overflow to be invisible. Let me check. It's working perfectly fine. And then we have also noted that on scroll, that sticky part, that is this particular part, is also just fading out to white. So we need to change this also. So for that, I'm again duplicating this class effect. Let me make it as white BG. Here what we are going to do is, I'm going to create another frame with the fill color of white. So let me take out this one, increase it. Let me take out this one. Let me make the fill color to be in white. Okay, so that we have created the white background also. Now what we are going to do is, that sticky element should fade out and comes to the color of white. So how we are going to do, just make sure to select this gradient wrap. And here I'm again going to use scroll transform. So again, I'm going to use a section in view and the viewport to be in the bottom. Here what I'm going to do is, I'm going to select the section 1, which is this one. When this particular section hits the bottom of this viewport, then the effect should go from, let me give the opacity to 1 and scaling to 0.7. Okay, so from this position to, it should go to the position of 0.8. Okay, so when it hits the section 1, it should move from this to this. Okay, let's check. It's moving. Good. It's moving great. And again, it have to expand. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to add another section, which should be 2, and it should move from 0.9. Okay, and again, I'm going to add another section, and when it hits the third wrap, it should come to the scaling 1. Okay, let's check. It's working perfectly fine. And what about this white background? Here too we need to make a transition effect which goes from opacity low to high. Okay, here too we are going to use the scroll transform. So let me go to the effect. Let me add the scroll transform. And coming to this, again I'm going to choose the section in view. And here the thing is, I'm going to choose the second section, which is here. So when the particular section, that is 2, hits the bottom of the viewport, it should goes from, let me give the scaling to 1 and opacity to be in 0. Okay, it should go from 0 to 0.6. Okay, and then let me add another section, that is when the third section, that is this section, hits the bottom of the viewport, it should go from 0.6 to 1. Okay, so that we have created the scroll transform. Let me check. So when it hits, perfectly fine, it's working perfectly fine. And the next transition is that particular text, that is get exactly what you wish, should go from the current place to be on the top. Okay, so for that let me choose up this content wrap, and here too I'm going to add a scroll transform effect. So that is scroll transform, section in view. When the particular first section hits the bottom of the viewport, it should go from opacity, let me increase opacity to 1 and 1. So in order for the clearance, let me hide this visibility to no for the white VG. Let me go back. Okay, and for this one, that is 2 position, let me give the opacity to 0.5, and also let's adjust the position somewhere here. Okay, so when the section 1 hits the bottom of the viewport, it should go from here to here. So after that, I'm adding another section. So when the section 2 hits the bottom of the viewport, it should hide it completely. So let me make the opacity to 0 and adjust the position somewhere here. Okay, let's check. It's going, it's hiding. It's going, it's hiding. Now we need to add a scroll effect for this button also. And coming to the button, it's not at all changing its position. So let me make that scroll transform. So section in view, when the section 1 hits the bottom of the viewport, it should go from here to 0. Okay, let me check. Yes, it's working perfectly fine. And now let me enable this white background. Now let's check. It's going up, it's hiding. Okay, fine. Now the crucial part is doing the scroll transform animation to this image. Here on scrolling, the images is placing inside this holder. So we are going to make that also. So before that, let me add the images on all over the screen. Now I have added the images in an absolute position with a width of 900. Okay. Now let's do the scroll transform effect for this image. It's the main part. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this particular image, and for this image I'm going to add the scroll transform effect. So on scrolling, when the first section, that is my birthday, hits the bottom of the screen, the images start to scroll. And then when the second one hits the bottom of the screen, the images got placed inside this placeholder. So this is what we are going to do. So I have chosen the image. I'm going to the effect. There's a scroll transform. So in section in view, I'm going to choose the 1. So the position should be, let's give the opacity to 1 and scale to 1.5. So this from position is the starting position. Okay, so this image should be placed somewhere here. So let me adjust the position somewhere here. The image is not showing up because of the visibility issue. Let me make the visibility to visible. Okay, I'm going back to this particular image. Let me go to the transform from. So this will be the starting position until this first section hits the bottom of the viewport. Okay, this is the starting position. Even if we want, we can adjust. Okay, I have increased the scaling to 1.6 also. So this will be the starting position. And when the section hits the bottom of the screen, where it should go? It should go somewhere here. Okay, so let me adjust the position somewhere here. Okay, and also let me increase the scaling to 1.4 or 1.3 will be fine. So it will come from here to here. Okay, and then when the position hits the second section, it should go to this old position. So let me change the scaling to 1 and it should go to its old position. Okay, let's check how it's working. It's coming here. Yeah, it's looking great. And we need to make the exact same thing for this image and this image. The same thing will be applied for the remaining 2 images. So I have added the effect for this scroll transform effect for these 2 images. Let me check. So on scrolling, it's coming here and it's got placed inside this placeholder. Okay, fine. We have completed this also. Next part is we have to make all the images to come at the bottom. Okay, so for that, here too we are going to add a scroll transform effect for this image. So I have chosen this image. I'm going to the effect, scroll transform, on section in view, and I'm going to choose the section to be in 1. So let me choose the position, that is the from position, to be in opacity to be in the 1 and scale to be in the 1. Okay, let me make the offset to be somewhere here, and also let me reduce the scaling. Let me make it to 0.8. Now let me add the second section. So for this position, it should go way down. And also let me reduce the scaling a little bit and also opacity to be in 0. And let me check. Okay, it's working perfectly fine, which I have expected. And now let me do the scrolling effect for this one, that is for the right one. And I'm going to the scroll transform. Let me make the section in view and let me choose the first one, and for the position to be in 1 and 1, and for the 2 let me give the offset somewhere here. Okay, and also let me reduce the scaling also. And when the section hits the 2, it should go way down. So let me adjust it. Let me reduce the scaling and opacity to 0. And let me check now. And this is how you need to give the effect for the remaining images, and you finally get the transition effect which we have expected. I hope you have really enjoyed this video and you get an idea of how to create the scroll transform animation in Framework. If you really enjoyed this tutorial, make sure to like this video and share it with your fellow designer. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to my channel.